Of course. Here's part 1, expanded into about 1,000 words, written in simple English, third person, and without any headings. The story will stay interesting and clean throughout. Ethan was just an ordinary young man who lived in a small, quiet town where everyone seemed to know each other. He worked as a delivery driver for a local grocery store, driving his old, beat-up car through rain or shine. His car was his most trusted partner, but it often gave him trouble at the worst possible times. Most days, Ethan would start the engine, with a hopeful smile and a quick prayer that today, just maybe, it would not stall in the middle of his route. One rainy afternoon, after a long day at work, Ethan's car began making strange noises. The engine sputtered, lights flickered, and the windshield wipers moved so slowly he could barely see the road. He tried to ignore it, telling himself he would make it home, but suddenly, with a loud cough, the engine died. His car rolled too, a stop right in front of a small mechanic's shop that he had passed many times before, but never entered. For a moment, Ethan just sat there, listening to the rain tap against the roof, feeling a bit defeated. He took a deep breath, grabbed his jacket, and stepped out into the rain. The sign above the garage door read, "Martin's Auto Repair." The shop looked a bit old but well cared for, with a big window displaying a row of shiny tools and car parts. As Ethan approached, the door opened and a young woman stepped out, wiping her hands on a cloth. Her name was Mia, but Ethan did not know that yet. She wore blue overalls with a patch that read Mia, and her hair was tied back in a messy ponytail. Her face was kind and she looked surprised but not annoyed to see a customer so late in the day. "Car trouble?" Mia asked, her voice friendly. Ethan nodded, a little embarrassed. "Yeah, it just stopped working. I think the rain made it worse," he said. Mia smiled, telling him not to worry. "You're lucky you stopped here. Most shops close early, but I like working late." She glanced at the car, then motioned for him to follow her inside. The garage smelled like oil and coffee, and the sound of rain made it feel cozy rather than cold. Ethan was surprised to see a woman working as a mechanic. In his town, most of the repair shops were run by men, and he was not sure what to expect. But Mia moved with confidence, grabbing her tools and heading straight for the car. She asked him to wait in the small office while she checked the engine. Ethan looked around the office, noticing the family photos on the wall and a little radio playing soft music. He felt nervous, wondering how much the repair would cost and if his car could even be saved this time. Through the window, Ethan watched Mia work in the rain. She lifted the hood, shining a flashlight and moving quickly from one part of the engine to another. Her hands moved with skill, and even from a distance, Ethan could see she knew exactly what she was doing. He tried to relax, sitting down and sipping the cup of coffee she had offered him. He listened to the soft hum of the radio, the tap of the rain, and the occasional sound of Maya's tools clicking and clanking under the hood. As the minutes passed, Ethan's worry slowly faded. He thought about how strange it was that his car had broken down right here in front of this particular shop on this rainy day. Maybe it was just luck, or maybe something else. He found himself wondering about Mia, how she learned to fix cars, why she chose this job, and what it was like working alone on such stormy nights. He tried not to stare as she worked, but he was curious. There was something about the way she moved calm and focused that made him respect her right away. After a while, Mia came back to the office, wiping the rain from her face. She told Ethan that the problem did not seem too serious and she could fix it if he did not mind waiting a little longer. Ethan agreed, feeling relieved. He thanked her and tried to make small talk, asking how long she had been working there. Mia smiled and said she had grown up in the shop. Her father had owned it before her, and she had learned everything by watching him. Ethan listened, surprised at how easy it was to talk to her, even though he was usually shy around strangers. The rain outside grew heavier, making the garage feel even cozier. Mia invited Ethan to join her in the garage if he wanted to watch the repair. He hesitated, but her friendly smile made him say yes. Together, They walked back into the garage, and Mia began showing him the parts of the engine that needed fixing. She explained things in simple words, and Ethan found himself asking questions, learning things he never thought he would understand about cars. Their conversation was natural, and the awkwardness Ethan had felt at first started to disappear, while Mia worked. Ethan handed her tools and held a flashlight for her. They shared a few laughs when Ethan handed her the wrong tool, and Mia teased him gently. The atmosphere was light and easy, making the time pass quickly. Every now and then, their hands would brush, and Ethan felt a strange mix of nervousness and excitement. He wondered if Mia felt it too, but he kept those thoughts to himself. As the evening went on, Ethan realized he was not just getting his car fixed. He was meeting someone special. There was something about Mia's honesty, her kindness, and the way she made him feel comfortable that was different from anyone he had met before. He watched her work, feeling grateful for her help and for the unexpected turn his day had taken. When Mia finally finished checking the car, she wiped her hands and looked at Ethan. "Almost done. Just need to tighten a few things and you'll be good to go," she said. Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the coffee or the garage. He realized that sometimes even the worst days could bring something good, like meeting someone new on a rainy night, just when you needed a little help the most. By the time Mia finished for the evening, the rain had begun to slow. Ethan's car was almost ready, but he found himself wishing he could stay a little longer. He did not know what would happen next, but for the first time in a long while, he was looking forward to finding out. "If you want the next part, just let me know." Mia finished the last twist on the bolt and stepped back. She told Ethan the repair was not hard, just a loose wire and a worn belt. Ethan felt relief. He had been afraid of a big bill or that the car would need parts he could not afford. Mia smiled and said she would finish the job while they talked a little more. Ethan watched her work, and she asked him if he liked coffee. He said yes, and she brought another cup from the small counter. The cup was warm in his hands, and the steam made the air feel soft around them. As she worked, Mia explained what each part did in plain words. Ethan asked questions, and she answered without making him feel dumb. She showed him how the belt moved, and how the wire had loosened from a small shake the car had taken earlier. Ethan listened and tried to remember. He liked how she did not hurry or rush him. She made him feel like his questions mattered. The rain kept falling outside, hitting the metal roof with a steady sound. The day was turning into evening, and the light grew dim. The small bulbs in the garage cast a yellow glow over everything. Ethan thought about how the moment felt quiet and safe, like a place outside of time where only the two of them existed. He tried not to think too much, but his chest tightened a little when their eyes met. Mia asked Ethan why he kept driving the old car if it gave him so much trouble. Ethan laughed softly and said it was all he could afford. He did not want to ask for help, and he liked fixing small things himself. Mia nodded and said she understood. She told him that the car had character. "It has stories," she said. Ethan smiled, surprised she used that word. He had never thought of his old car as having stories, but now he could see it. He told her about one trip he took with his little sister when the brakes squeaked the whole time and they both laughed. Mia laughed too, and it sounded warm to him. They moved from car talk into life talk. Ethan asked how she kept the shop going. Mia said her father had died 2 years before and she had taken over. She had no choice, she said, because the town needed the shop and she needed the work. She spoke calmly, not asking for pity. Ethan felt a small pain hearing how hard she worked. He said he respected her for keeping it alive. Mia looked at him and said the work kept her going. Sometimes, she said, the quiet nights made her feel lonely, but stories from customers helped. Ethan realized he had become one of those stories in her head already. She asked him about his family. Ethan told her his mother worked in a bakery and his father had left when he was young. He had a younger sister who liked to draw on old napkins and dream about going to the city. Ethan felt a little shy talking about his life, but Mia listened like every word mattered. She asked what he wanted to do someday. Ethan said he did not know. He just tried to make each day count. Mia nodded and then said something that made him look up. You do more than just try. You show up. That matters. Ethan felt heat rise in his cheeks. He did not expect her to notice that. While they talked, a small problem popped up under the hood. A bolt had come loose again, and Mia asked Ethan to hand her a wrench. He reached in, and their hands touched for a second. She pulled back a little and said, "Sorry, that was clumsy." Ethan smiled and said it was okay. She went back to work, and he kept watching her fingers move with care. He was learning more from her than just about cars. He was learning how she treated people with quiet respect and simple honesty. The small radio played a song from years ago, and Ethan hummed along for a moment. Mia asked if he liked music. He said he did, but he rarely had time to listen. She told him she liked to play songs while she worked. It made the long hours feel shorter. She asked him if he had ever fixed anything serious by himself. Ethan told her about a broken door at his sister's school that he had helped repair last winter. The wood had been damp and the hinges were rusty, but he and his friend had fixed it so the kids could get inside. Mia nodded and said, "You have a good heart. People notice that, even if they do not say it." Ethan looked at her, surprised she knew that about him. He had never heard anyone say it before, not like that. The rain slowed. Outside, the sky began to change from dark gray to a soft blue, where the sun tried to push through clouds. The light came in the window and made small, bright lines on the floor. Ethan and Mia did not talk about the weather. They let the quiet fill the space, like a comfortable pause between two people who were learning each other bit by bit. Mia finished tightening a piece and turned to him. She held a small cloth and asked if he was cold. Ethan said a little. She went into a cabinet and pulled out an old jacket, the kind that smelled like home. She told him to put it on while she cleaned the last part. Ethan took it, surprised by her thoughtfulness. The jacket was too big, but it fit around him like a soft shield. He pulled the sleeves down and felt the warmth spread into him. He thanked her quietly, and she said, "You looked like you needed it." After that, she leaned over the engine to check one more thing. Ethan stood near, holding the flashlight steady. He tried not to breathe too loud. The light fell across her face, and he saw her concentration, the way her brow curled slightly, and the small crease near her mouth when she tried not to smile. He felt a pull, a soft feeling in his chest that told him he wanted to know her more. Mia paused, then turned and said, "I can finish this up soon. You have been patient." Ethan shook his head and said he liked helping. He did not know why. He said it, but he meant it. She smiled again, and this time it was different, like she saw him not just as a customer, but as a person who stayed when others might have left. The look in her eyes made his breath catch for a moment. He did not say anything. They both kept working side by side in a rhythm that felt easy. The repair took longer than expected, but the time never felt heavy. Ethan was learning things, and Mia was sharing stories. The shop felt safe. He did not want the night to end, though the car had to be fixed. When she finally closed the hood and stood up, she wiped her hands and looked tired, but her eyes were bright. "You're all set," she said. "I tightened the wire again, replaced the belt, and cleaned the connection. Your car should run smooth for a while." Ethan felt grateful. He had expected a big price or a long silence, but she only charged a fair amount and told him to bring it back if anything felt wrong. He took his wallet out, and she waved her hand, saying she trusted him to come back if needed. They walked to the small office together. Ethan offered to help clean up, but she said he had already helped enough. She made another cup of coffee, and they sat for a moment. The light from outside turned golden, and the town quieted. Ethan looked at her and felt something deep move. Inside him, a feeling like hope. He had come in with a broken car and left with a lighter heart. Before he left, he asked, "Can I see you again? Not for the car. Just talk." Mia looked at him. For a second, silence held still. Then she smiled and said, "I would like that." Ethan felt his chest open, like a door had opened inside him. He thanked her, and she said it was nothing. He left with the repaired car, but he kept looking back, seeing her through the rain light standing in the doorway, waving. The night ended with a new kind of quiet. Ethan drove home, thinking about how strange life could be. He had not planned on meeting anyone that night, but he had. And now, the next visit felt like a promise, a small new beginning. Ethan could not stop thinking about Mia after that first night. He drove his car like it was new, just to feel the smooth ride and remember her smile. He told himself he would not be too eager, but the small question he had asked, if he could see her again, stayed in his mind like a quiet hope. A few days later, Ethan found an excuse to go back. His car was still running well, but he said to himself that he needed to thank her again. He brought a small box of fresh pastries from his mother's bakery, wrapped in paper, and carried it in carefully. The town was waking up slowly, and the sun had soft light. When he arrived, the rain from before was gone. The shop smelled like oil and warm air. Mia was there, working on a different car, her hands moving like before with easy skill. She looked up when he opened the door, and her face changed in a good way. Ethan felt his throat tighten for a second. "I brought something," he said, holding out the box. She set the wrench down and took it, surprised. "Your mother made these?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "She said they are best fresh," he said. Mia opened the box and the smell came out, sweet and soft. She offered him one and he shook his head. "You keep it. You fixed my car. I want to say thanks." She smiled and took a bite. Her eyes closed for a moment like she was tasting comfort. She offered him a small piece anyway. He ate it and it tasted like home. They sat on old stools near the car she was fixing. Ethan helped by holding parts when she needed, like he had before. This time, the talk did not stay only on small life stories. Mia asked if he had made any plans for the weekend. Ethan said, no, he mostly worked, but he could take time if something was simple. She paused, then said, "There is a small street fair on Saturday. My sister is coming in from the next town. She likes to see the lights and the food. I could use someone to carry the boxes for her." Ethan looked at her, then smiled. "I can do that," he said. She thanked him, and the plan was set without too much pressure. The days until Saturday felt long for Ethan. He told his sister he might go to the fair to help with a small job, and she teased him about spending time with the girl who fixed his car. Ethan just shrugged, not wanting to make it sound bigger than it was. When Saturday came, he arrived. Early, with a large empty crate and a small bouquet of wildflowers he picked on the way, thinking the flowers would be a good small thing to give to Mia's sister. The fair was bright and busy. Small lights hung from wires and children ran with balloons. The smell of grilled food and sweet fruit filled the air. Mia's sister arrived, a young woman with a quick laugh and a bag full of goods. She hugged Mia tight, and Ethan could see the family bond. Mia introduced Ethan and her sister said, "Thank you," with a smile, looking at the crate. Ethan set it down and helped them carry the boxes to the booth. The work was easy, and the sister kept thanking him. Ethan felt good to help. Mia watched him, and her eyes had a soft look. She did not say much, but the way she moved close when she passed made him feel seen. After the heavy boxes were set, Mia's sister went to help with small tasks, leaving Ethan and Mia alone near the edge of the fair. Lights flickered above, and the sound of music came from a stage in the distance. For a moment there was quiet. Ethan handed her the small bouquet. She looked surprised, took it, and held it like it was a treasure. "They are nice," she said. Ethan shrugged and said, "I thought your sister might like them." She nodded and put them in a small jar on the table behind her. The day moved, slow in the best way. They worked a little, then took moments to walk through the fair. Ethan carried a small paper cup of warm tea for her. She talked about how the fair reminded her of the days when she and her father sold small tools and snacks together. Ethan listened, and he told a story about his little sister trying to draw a map of the fair and making the Ferris wheel twice as big as it really was. They both laughed. The sound was easy and soft. As evening came, the lights brightened and the air grew cooler. People walked past with glowing faces, and children held tight to cotton candy. Ethan and Mia found a quiet place near a closed stall. She leaned on the counter and asked him about his work again. He shared a small worry he had about a long route and how the delivery load felt heavier some days. She nodded and said he needed to take care of himself too. "You carry too much," she said. "You do not have to show strength all the time." Ethan did not know how to answer. No one had said that to him like it was okay to rest. He just looked at her and gave a small smile. Later, the fair music changed to slower songs. People gathered near the stage to watch a singer. Ethan and Mia's sister joined them, and the three stood a little apart. The singer's voice was low and kind. Ethan felt the moment shift, like the quiet between notes made room for something unspoken. Mia's sister sang along softly, and Mia watched her with a gentle smile. Ethan looked at Mia, the light making small shadows on her face. He wanted to say something but did not know what. Instead, he offered to get more tea. She accepted, and he went to the small booth nearby. When he returned, he saw her looking at a small wooden game where children tossed rings. One of the rings had fallen, and a boy was sad. Mia bent down and gave the boy a new ring and a quick word that made him smile. Ethan watched her help, and he felt deeper respect. She stood up and looked at him, and he handed her the warm tea. "Thank you," she said. Her voice had a soft tone. The night went on, and the work ended. Mia's sister packed the last items, and Ethan helped again. The fair lights dimmed slowly as people left. Ethan felt the time was coming to end too, but he did not want to rush it. He asked if she wanted to walk a little before they closed. She agreed. They walked past empty stalls, the sounds turning into quiet steps. The cool air moved softly, and the lights left soft glows behind them. They stopped by a small fountain that had no water now, only smooth stones. The light from a street lamp made a round patch on the ground. Ethan turned and said, "I like how you do things. You help people even when no one asks." Mia looked at him, and for a second she was quiet. Then she said, "I learned that from my father. He always said the work is more than the tools. It is the care." Ethan nodded. The quiet stayed with them, not heavy but present like a shared secret. He felt the moment come closer. He had been holding it inside like a small light. He wanted to say more, to tell her how he felt, but the words felt big. Instead, he reached out to touch the small scar on her hand, a mark from a past repair, and she did not pull away. She looked at him and he said, "You make things better, even people." She gave a small laugh, and then she placed her hand gently on his arm, a quick touch of thanks. The night ended with a soft goodbye. Ethan walked away slowly, and Mia watched him go. He turned back once, and she raised her hand slightly. The date was simple, a day of help and talk, but it carried weight. Ethan drove home thinking about her, and the small light in his chest felt a little brighter. Ask ChatGPT. After the fair, Ethan kept thinking about the way Mia's hand had stayed on his arm for a second. The small touch had not been loud or strange, but it felt like a promise. He wanted to see her again, not because of the fair help, but because he liked being near her. He could feel the difference in himself, like something had opened and made room for something new. A few days passed. Ethan found himself taking longer routes that passed by the shop, just to see if she was there. One evening, when the sun was low and the light turned orange, he went in with a small book. It was a thin notebook he used to write short notes to himself when the day felt heavy. He had scribbled a few things about how he wanted to be better, how he wanted to use the good feelings he got from small kindnesses to help others too. He did not show the book to her. He just kept it because he knew she would understand what it meant to carry quiet things inside. Maya was in the shop, cleaning a part from a car she was going to fix the next day. She looked up when Ethan came in. He said hello, and she smiled, the same warm smile that had made him feel safe at first. She closed the cabinet and set the part down. He told her he had been thinking about their walk and the fair. She said she had too. They sat on the stools again, and she offered him coffee. Ethan took the cup, feeling the steam rise. They talked about small things at first. Mia asked about his delivery routes and how the town looked from the back of the truck. Ethan shared how sometimes he saw small moments, like a child waving from a porch or a dog that always chased the same car. She listened and then asked him something deeper. "What do you do when you feel stuck?" she asked. Ethan looked at her, thinking. "I try to move. Even if I do not know where, I keep going. Sometimes that is enough," he said. Mia nodded, then told him she did the same with the shop. Some days the money was thin, some nights the silence was loud, but she kept going because the place needed her and because it was part of who she was. The talk shifted, and the room grew quiet for a moment. Ethan looked at her and said, "I like how you do that, how you keep going." Mia looked down and then back at him. She said, "I do not always know if I am doing it right. People expect the shop to be fixed, the parts to be right, the price to be fair. They do not always see the woman underneath the grease and the tired eyes." Ethan felt a pull in his chest. He had thought about that before, how she worked hard and did not ask for praise. He said, "I see you. Not just the work. I see you." She blinked, and a small smile came. "That matters," she said quietly. He had gone there with the thought of asking something, but the moment was softer than the question. Finally, he took a breath. "I want to know you more," he said. "Not just when the car breaks or the fair needs help. I mean, I like spending time with you. It is easy." Mia looked at him, and for a second, the light in the room felt thicker, like it held both the past hard days and the hope in the future. She reached up and smoothed a small spot of dust from the counter, her fingers moving slow. "I like that too," she said. "I do not know if I am good with this. I have spent a long time being just the one who fixes things. I do not want to mess up something that is simple and good." Ethan nodded. He understood. He said, "We do not have to rush. I will just keep showing up." She looked at him, and the way she did made him feel like she meant it. Then the moment changed. A car pulled up outside, its sound breaking the quiet. A young man stepped in to ask about a small part. Mia stood and Ethan helped by handing her a piece of cloth. They moved through the small task with ease, and when the customer left, the space felt like it had before, soft and shared. Ethan stood near the open hood, watching her work. He felt the want to reach out again, to say more, but he held back. The simple promise of showing up felt enough for now. As she tightened a bolt, she asked him to hold the flashlight steady. He did, and their hands touched again, this time lower. When he moved the light, his wrist bumped hers. She paused, then smiled and said, "You always help so well." Ethan looked up, and she was close. The smell of oil and coffee mixed with the warm air. He noticed the small line near her eye when she concentrated, and the soft breath she took before speaking. He felt something move inside, a mix of fear and hope. Maya finished the job and turned to him. She said she had one more thing to ask. She wanted his help the next day with a small delivery of parts to a family outside town. The route was rough, and she did not like going alone. Ethan did not hesitate. He said he would go. She smiled and then looked at him a moment longer. Thank you. It helps to have a calm hand. He did not know why the words felt personal, but he nodded and said, okay. After he left that evening, Ethan sat in his car for a while, not moving. He thought about the quiet between them, the words unsaid, the things that might happen if he kept showing up. He also thought about the small worry that came, the one that said maybe she liked the company, but did not want more. He told himself he would wait and keep it simple. In his notebook, he wrote a short line. She sees me. Keep being real. The words felt like weight and light, both. The next day, Ethan went on the delivery with her. They drove out of town, the road turning, into dirt and soft rock. The air smelled dry and clean, and small hills rolled in the distance. As they drove, they talked about nothing and everything. He helped her carry the box to the door of the family, and the woman there greeted them with a smile and warm tea. While she signed the receipt, Ethan watched Maya move, how she balanced the work and the care in her actions. He felt proud to be with her, not in a loud way, but in a quiet, strong way. On the drive back, the truck hit a bump, and something in the back shifted. Ethan reached to steady the box, and Mia laughed softly. You are always ready, she said. Ethan shook his head, but the laugh warmed him. When they reached the shop again, the afternoon sun had a golden tone. They set the tools down, and Ethan felt the day had given more than just a task done. He felt closer. Mia said thank you again, and then she looked at him. I like that you keep showing up, she said. Ethan smiled and said, I will keep coming, only if you want me to. She nodded, and the space between them felt like a quiet promise that did not need many words. The days after the delivery were quiet in their own way. Ethan kept coming by the shop, not with big plans, just with small things, a cup of coffee, a quick question about a noise his car made, or sometimes nothing at all. Mia saw him and smiled, and the small space between them grew softer. It was not loud or dramatic. It was a slow build, like the gentle light that comes before dawn. One evening, the town had a light wind, and the sky was clear. The shop had closed, but Mia stayed to finish a few things. Ethan came by with nothing in his hands. He stood in the doorway for a moment, watching her work on a small engine part. She looked up and said, You could have gone home. He stepped inside and said, I wanted to see if you were still here, and to say thank you again. She nodded and closed the small box she had been using to hold parts. The room held the smell of metal and the last warm air from the afternoon. They sat on the stools, their legs almost touching. The light from outside made long lines on the floor. Ethan looked at her, and the silence felt easy. Finally, he said, I keep thinking about how simple this all is. I do not need grand things. Just this. Just time. Mia listened. She picked up a small wrench and turned it slowly, then set it down. I like that too, she said. I used to think I had to fix everything around me to be enough. Now I see that showing up and being real matters more. Ethan smiled, and the warmth came back, the same kind that had been there since the first rain. He took a breath. I want to ask you something, he said. I do not want to scare you. I only want to know if you feel it too. This thing between us. I like you. More than the quiet help or the talks. I like the way you look at small things and give them care. I like how you keep going when it is hard. I do not have a plan. I only know I want to be with you in the days that come. If you want that too, I will keep showing up. If not, I will still be grateful for what we have. His voice was calm, but his heart moved fast. Mia looked at him. For a moment she was quiet, and Ethan thought maybe he had said too much. Then she smiled, small and true. "I felt it," she said. "I was afraid to name it. I did not want to break the simple good things we had." She reached out and touched, his hand lightly. The touch was soft, like the weight of a small promise. "I like you too," she said. "I do not know all the words, but I know I want to keep this. I want to keep showing up with you." Ethan's breath stayed for a second, then left in a slow way. He reached and held her hand back, careful, like it was something good he did not want to rush. They sat there, fingers linked, and talked without big plans. They did not need to decide the future in that moment. They shared small dreams. Ethan said he wanted to save enough to fix the car once and for all, maybe get a better one, but not to leave the town. He liked how the streets felt, how the bakery smelled in the morning, and how the small waves of life moved. Mia said she wanted to keep the shop going, to teach her little sister more about how to help when she came, and maybe one day to take a short trip to the coast. They laughed when they found how small their dreams were and how they fit together, like pieces of a simple puzzle. The sun went low, and the light turned orange. Maya stood and stretched. "I should close up," she said. Ethan stood too and helped her carry the small tools into the cabinet. They moved easy, the motions of two people who knew each other now. Before he left, Ethan paused at the door. He looked back and said, "I could bring you food tomorrow. My mom makes a big stew on Sunday. You can have some." Mia nodded. "I would like that," she said. "And I will make you something too. Maybe a small dessert. You keep helping me, and I will keep fixing things that break inside the shop. And outside—" Ethan laughed softly, the kind of laugh that comes when a heavy thing lifts a little. The next day, he brought a bowl wrapped in cloth. She brought small cookies with a note on the paper. "For the one who shows up." They sat in the office again, sipping coffee and tasting the food. The sweet and warm mix of the stew and the soft cookies made the air around them feel like a shared secret. They talked about how the week had gone and how small kindnesses could change the shape of a day. Ethan said the town had felt brighter, and Mia said the shop had felt less heavy. As weeks passed, their time together found a rhythm. Some days they worked on cars and delivered parts. Other days, they sat in the office with a small radio playing while they drank coffee. Sometimes they walked in silence, carrying a small bag of groceries to a neighbor together, their shoulders almost touching. Ethan learned how to tie a wire the way Mia liked, and she learned how he always warmed his hands on the cup before he took a drink. The small habits became their quiet language. One afternoon, Mia had a hard day. A big order had been delayed, and a customer had yelled over a mistake that was not her fault. She sat in the office with her head down. Ethan came in with a small paper bag. He set it on the counter and said, "My sister said to tell you you are strong. She said you do not have to fix their anger. Just keep being you." Mia looked up, surprise and something soft filling her eyes. She opened the bag. Inside was a small sandwich and a note that said, "For when the day gets heavy, eat and keep going." She smiled, and Ethan saw her shoulders relax like a weight left them. That night, after the work was done, they walked outside together. The sky had stars and the air had a light chill. They stopped near the street where the lights of the town were quiet. Ethan reached his arm out, and Mia took it without thinking. They walked slowly, not needing to speak. There was safety in the quiet, and a kind of peace that came from knowing someone was there. When they reached the place where the road turned, Ethan stopped. He turned to her and said, "I do not know what will come next. Maybe things will get hard. Maybe the car will break again, or the shop will need more help. But I know I want to be here. With you." Mia looked at him and leaned her head a little on his shoulder. "I want that too," she said. "We will fix what breaks. Together." Ethan nodded, and they stood for a moment, listening to the night. The story did not end with big words or a promise written in stone. It ended with the two of them walking back, hands brushing, knowing they had something real. Ethan drove home, that night, with a calm breath. He kept thinking of how a simple repair, a small touch, and a quiet plan had brought something new to his life. Mia went to the shop and turned off the lights, then paused at the door, looking out at the road he had taken. She touched her own hand where he had held it and felt the same quiet hope. They did not rush. They kept showing up. Ask ChatGPT.